Opening up, my name is Rashad. I'm here with Honorable Dr. Umar Johnson of the Malcolm X Center, termination and live at 95.5. And you opened up talking about so far as the gentrification of even the schooling, and then I want you to kind of explain about your school and
To begin with, I'm Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology, certified school psychologist and principal, also trained as a political scientist. I'm in private practice in Pennsylvania where I evaluate children with special education eligibility. So I evaluate for such conditions as autism, mental retardation, which is now known as intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, uh, learning disabilities, reading, math, etc., etc. I assist with evaluations of children who are suspected of having traumatic brain, orthopedic impairment, speech and language impairment, deafness, blindness. I mentioned that, and other health impairments, which include conditions like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which I don't really agree with. I guess we'll talk about it at some point as well, because that's a very, very big campaign against Black children, falsification of mental illness. But I made my name helping parents fight to protect their children from special education, misdiagnosis and placement, as well as protecting the children from uh, faulty disruptive behavior disorder diagnosis. So educational law policy process is my expertise in addition to mental health. I'm also a former Minister of Education for Marcus Garvey's University of Israel Improvement Association. I am kin to Frederick Douglass, and I am founder of the National Movement to Save Black Boys, as well as Team Pan African, which is the international movement for the independence and protection of African people. As far as education goes, I would have to say, to the South Carolina audience, the Greenville audience, that within the next 20 years, there may no longer be a public education. The United States Constitution does not provide for public education. It is not even mentioned in the Constitution. People in this country who feel that it is unconstitutional to force them to pay taxes for a service, education, that the Constitution does not require. The United States Department of Education has only been around since 1981. So this is a fairly new federal office when you talk about education and the federal government's involvement in programs that they feel help guarantee the 14th Amendment rights of students. Special education is a federal law. It's a federal law. Title I is a federal law. JROTC is a federal program. The federal government's involvement is limited to programs that finances it actually pays its way to participate in public education, which is a state right, not a federal right in a local function. But now, we are in the midst of a massive Black public school shutdown operation. It is everywhere. As a scholar who travels the country, I can tell you everywhere I go, or at least most places I've been to, school shutdown movement is taking place in the Black community. Philadelphia, where I live, Chicago, and Detroit are probably the three most extensive examples of shutdown, i.e., gentrification, because you cannot separate the public school shutdown movement from the white gentrification movement, or I like to call it what it is, ethnic cleansing, the removal of Black people and the replacing of them with white people and other desirable minority groups. We're the only undesirable minority. African people are the only non-white people in this country and are not wanted. Everyone else is allowed to come. The Chinese is allowed. The Arab, the East Indian, the Latino, they are invited. They're given certain types of tax incentives to simply be here. So we are the unwanted minority, the only unwanted minorities. What racism is doing now? In order to more effectively move Black people out of the neighborhood, schools without children in 10, because people live where their children go to school, or at least they try to. So if you want to get rid of black people, you have to get rid of the schools that educate their children. So what they're doing is they're using black faces, you and I, come in and they pay us to front the charter school to leave. They'll pay you to come into Greenville, to the ghetto, and say, hey, brothers and sisters, we got a new charter school that these good white folks are going to be open here for our children. Who's going to oppose education? Nobody opposes education. So if you want to do your dirt to black people, do it in the name of education. So you get the parents all involved, they sign their petitions, the white folks come open up the school, black parents come and they say how beautiful this is. But they don't pay attention to three key things. Number one, they never ask, are actually on the charter for the charter school. You follow that? You fronted it, but nobody asked to show me the documentation that shows you're actually taking out the charter school application, and not some white folks who are linked to some of the building corporations who want to come in and quote unquote revitalize the community. So number one, we don't pay attention to the paperwork. Number two, we don't pay attention to who is hired. Most of these employees that are hired in these white created charter schools are white people. Guess where they're going to live? Black neighborhood. They're going to buy up the abandoned houses. They're going to occupy the apartments. They're going to occupy the low-income housing, and they're going to transform it. White middle-class community, which means it's going to raise the property values for black folks. And within 10 to 20 years after the charter school was created, the black people who were fooled into believing that the charter school is for them will actually see that they can't even afford to live. Now, of course, the argument can be made, charter schools allow their children to come from anywhere within that school district, so you don't have to live around. That's true, but guess what? Charter schools also illegally handpick the children they want to go to their school. So once you are out of that neighborhood, they can effectively keep your child from going to that school. In the neighborhood, it's difficult to protect because charter schools have to have some children from the immediate community. You see, so
but they throw that application out there and go through the application.
Yep.
And how much do you make
Yep.
as far as your income?
Yep.
So do you qualify?
Exactly. Exactly. There's no income requirement, but they may ask about income to determine how high they need to work to raise the property value before you're black and out of the neighborhood. So the new face of gentrification is the charter schools.
Right.
White folks are clever. They knew that, just coming in saying we've taken over wasn't going to work. Black people can see that this is the obvious colonization of my community by white hostiles. So how do those same white hostiles acquire that community, but with less of the political backlash? Do it through the skies and by way of the illusion and under the cover of creating a charter school. That's why you see charter schools in black neighborhoods. Have you ever seen a charter school in white suburbs? There's almost no charter schools in white suburbs. Why can't we find charter schools in white suburbs? Because charter schools are part of the gentrification movement. Control their communities. They don't need charter schools because they don't plan on kicking anybody out. Charter schools help you remove people. That's why you don't see charter schools in white neighborhoods. You don't see charter schools in predominantly Asian neighborhoods. You see charter schools in black neighborhoods.
Around apartment buildings.
Exactly.
Apartment buildings.
And speaking of gentrification, school is the college and the university. Most people are not aware, but colleges and universities are the largest landowners in many cities. Colleges own some of the highest valued real estate in the country. So how else do you get rid of black people? Or you get rid of black people from the neighborhood? Is by having the universities expand. And the way universities expand into the black ghettos is by creating African American studies programs. We're going to start an African American studies program, bachelor's, master's, doctorate in African American studies, right? But black people are going to be opposed to that because you're now offering African American studies. You're afraid to be quote unquote multiracial, still a white hostile. But because black people love white people, they can't see through the lead. They're too in love with the person conducting it. It's like a magician. You so in love with the magician, you can even see the tricks that he's playing. So what the universities do is they expand and start purchasing real estate in the black ghetto, and they'll create a community development center and make the black people think this is for you. They'll create a health center. Can you make the black people think that's for them? They'll open up a daycare center. They'll open up a charter school. They'll do all these little fancy things in the ghetto and make you think they're coming to help you, and all they're doing is slowly raising up your property value and pushing you out. One of the most effective strategies that white universities have used to colonize black communities is the African American Studies program. And I'm not against our people being in them, don't get me wrong, but they need to recognize and understand that the only reason why this program is here is for universities to attract students, to get paid, and to appear friendly to the locals, the black locals, so they can ultimately move them out. And then what do? Once they take over their neighborhood? A lot of these universities then start shutting down the African American Studies program.
You see, no funding.
Exactly.
School
Exactly. Mission is complete.
Right.
I only opened it to get you Negroes out the way. After the university took over North Philadelphia, they said, okay, we don't need the African American Studies program anymore. And then there was a protest, and they extended it, but eventually they'll get rid of it. So why? Because many of the black people who are fighting to keep it there, but they won't be able to afford to live in it for 20 years.
And that's a common issue, especially right now in Greenville. Gentrification is happening. You have a historical community in Westview Homes. So they gave the tenants, well, like you said, they do the paperwork. We don't read over the paperwork. They had them sign the paperwork last year. So right now they gave them almost like 30 days, close to 3 weeks, and they're kicking them out. Right, and that's happening right now. In the same community, maybe a couple years ago, they built a community center right down the street from that community. And now you see people coming in, buying up the homes in the area. And so how is it that we can combat these issues for gentrification and them coming in and taking over the areas?
There's a psychological barrier when it comes to fighting any form of white supremacy. And that is that African people want to be accepted by white people so much that they don't see gentrification, which is a form of integration, as a threat, because we want to be around white people. So the average black person welcomes white infiltration in the community. That by white people coming into the community, it signifies that white people are accepting them. Our goal in life is to be accepted by white people. Many of us go to college to be accepted by white people. We join the political parties to be accepted by white people. So the pursuit of white validation is at the core of black existence. That's why we don't fight. Because how do you fight the person who you're trying to love? So you can only be a nationalist. You can only be about self-reliance if you're not in love with white people. So this is a psychological issue. The other issue is the black bourgeoisie in Greenville, in Black America in general. The black bourgeoisie's job is to serve as gatekeepers for the white power structure. So before they do anything, the black bourgeoisie, the gatekeepers, the Illuminati, as I call them, have already been given their marching orders, which is basically propaganda that they are supposed to use against black folks to disarm them psychologically from what really is about to go down. So, for example, university.
So you were speaking about the black bourgeoisie.
Black bourgeoisie. What they do is they get the marching orders. In Philadelphia, we had a situation to take over the hood. There was a black council person guaranteed black folks that Temple University would only be allowed to go past a certain block. They said that they're coming into North Philadelphia, but they can only go past 21st. Guess what? Temple is way beyond that. But his job was to make black people comfortable, to make them think that what they saw was not taking place. Which is why we got to be very, 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 very meticulous regarding how we interpret and analyze the messages that come from our black bourgeoisie, because it is their job to stalemate us mentally long enough for white supremacy to affect the agenda. See,
Listen on the city council.
yes, they're everywhere. Now with the black bourgeoisie, there's largely five families. Okay, there's others, but there's five core. One is the entertainment bourgeoisie. Newspapers, radio, websites, also, but they don't talk about anything relevant. Or they do, they don't never discuss the critical issue. Like if you have a black talk show, they'll spend 80% of the time talking about entertainment, crime, upcoming presidential elections, which isn't going to matter one bit to black people because the black agenda for Hillary or Trump will be the same. You understand? The only thing that differs is the white and the black agenda has been consistent for 44 presidents, including the black one, Obama. Okay, so you got the entertainment bourgeois, then you got the educational bourgeois. These are Negroes in your universities, colleges, and school districts who always like to justify the failure of black children by blaming their parents. You understand? This is a problem of single mothers. This is a problem of incarcerated fathers. Don't get me wrong, that bears an influence, but that's not the cause. That's a symptom or a contributing factor, but it's not the cause. The reason why our children are being educated is because the schools were deliberately designed for their failure, and the white teachers are there to guarantee it. Let me say it again. The schools are designed for their failure, and the white female teachers are there to guarantee it. It should actually be a crime oppressor to be responsible for educating your children. You are the oppressed and they are the oppressor, and that obviously concludes that the children are likewise being prepared for oppression. And then you have, economic bourgeoisie, a couple of dollars that have some money. And instead of talking about the issues that really matter to black people, they would rather spend their time giving to, rather than putting money behind issues that are relevant to black people. They would rather spend their money financing Hillary's campaign. They'll give their money to finance the Boys and Girls Club, any white-run corporation. They can get all the money they want.
All of like the white nonprofits.
Yes.
That come into the neighborhood.
Which is another takeover strategy called grassroots money.
Right.
And use it to pay themselves. There's a lot of hustling with the CDC where white folks come together, open up the CDC, serving black folks, and all they're doing is stuffing their pockets. That's global. Black failure and black self-hate is a very profitable industry in this country. There's white people who make trillions of dollars off of the fact that you don't want to unite with one another and off of the fact that you hate one another. $1 billion, the CDCs, the charter schools, the judges, the cops, the courts, the halfway houses. It's a $1 trillion industry servicing black failure. There's white folks who have become billionaires servicing. And the next family, the bourgeoisie, the status Negro. This would be Negro in Greenville, who has the title, a position, city council, mayor, alderman, state rep, U.S. rep, and there are exceptions to the rule, but they are few. And their job is simply, again, to distract you, to give you the illusion that they have some sort of power, that they're in a position to help. You just have to be patient and let me work by magic, but the magic never produces itself. Yeah, all they're doing is using their confidence in them against you. Which is why I don't put confidence in people. I put confidence in the program and in the policy. That's where my confidence comes from. Not in you, but in this. Playing stuff, not people. People will betray you. Everybody is the religious bourgeoisie, who is critically important to the maintenance of white supremacy. The revolutionary energy, passion, and fervor of the militant black underclass, and dissipate that energy through religious rhetoric. So when we go to church, we're angry, we come here to make something happen. But once he finishes psychologically confusing you, he's just select verses in the Bible as to make you believe that God wants you to be patient and you're supposed to love your enemy, the poor, that ye shall inherit the earth, the blessed are the poor, and all this other stuff would simply make black people feel that they're blessed to be on the bottom. It's just bourgeoisie is critical because that spiritual incarceration, that psychological incarceration. And since most people feel guilty about going against the church is probably the most potent weapon it has. And in fact, the church operates just like white supremacist government. It's total loyalty, total commitment, and no questions. That's why the church is most powerful. You can question the educational bourgeoisie. You can question the entertainment bourgeoisie. You can question the economic bourgeoisie. You can question the status bourgeoisie in your pastor. And so when white supremacy is the pastor on his side.
So how do we control, and I want to speak about policing specifically because currently we also having a problem with policing our community. Police is abusing our community, coming in, harassing the children. Just off the statistics, there's been 370 people that have been killed by the hands of the police.
Is that national or the
national? But locally in the city, there have been a couple incidents within this year. A popular police has harassed a child, and that child has ended up. There have been cases where that child had ended up in prison. And so you speak about these YDs, but how do we combat that? And also how do we look to educate the children that will go to a school to combat that?
Every problem that we have as African people is systematically implemented. It's not informal, it's quite formal. YD is manufactured quite formal, you understand. So there's a system in place that takes our best mind and uses it against us. So we have to look at this as a systems issue. The problem with black people is we like to look at it as a personality issue. So we'll look at a Barack Obama, a Jesse Jackson, and Al Sharpton and say something is wrong with them. True, but something's only wrong with them because something is wrong with the system that allows them types of personalities to be more loyal to the status quo than the black people. So we have to analyze these systems. One of the systems that we do not have, the ethnic group in America, white or non-white, that does not have a socialization system for their children. When you look at Asians, they socialize their children right here in America to be Asians. They are socialized and taught to be loyal to their community. These Indians do it, Arabs do it, Latinos do it, whites do it, Italians, Jews, Irish, they have a socialization system. The Irish flag has even socialized to be loyal to this ethnic origin. Black people socialize their kids for Jesus. We socialize our kids to Muhammad. We socialize our kids to go to college and become bougie Negroes and move out into the suburbs. We socialize our kids to be materialistic, to be connoisseurs of material nonsense. We do not socialize them to have any type of political personality or commitment to African regeneration. So if you want to fix this, you got to start on the ground. I argue as a school psychologist that education is the most critical institution that you can build if you want to fix black people's problems. Now, when people hear that, they often assume that I'm talking about the education that you get in public school. That is indoctrination, you understand? So school's job is to make you literate, and they don't even do that. Education is not literacy. Literacy is preparation for education. What education does is it socializes you in the art of war, economic art of warfare. True education will socialize you to take power back from your oppressor and how to hold on to that power. Teaches you what white supremacy is, what it is not. What African culture is, what African culture is not. It teaches you above all things how to think critically, but most importantly, how to think in the best interest of your people. Because we have some great minds, but they've been socialized by white folks, taught how to think by white folks, and they think for the interest and betterment of white supremacy, not black folks. Most of our intelligent minds constantly used against us. And look now, you even have now where they allow black people to become Rhodes Scholars. You see, so once again, Cory Booker from New Jersey, a member of the Black bourgeoisie of New Jersey, he's a Rhodes Scholar. You see, so they hold on to them good black minds that they feel can be a benefit to them. Barack Obama was the case in point. Groomed, nurtured, raised not only by his white racist grandparents, Harvard University and the other universities, he was tutored, neutered, and tutored in the art of protecting and maintaining white supremacy.
So as far as controlling our neighborhoods and taking action right now, how do you see we do that? Even with the people that are in place as of right now?
I'm not sure it's possible without changing the mindset of African people. I'm biased in this regard, being a therapist. I know how difficult it is to change mindset. I know how difficult it is to change attitude. I know how difficult it is to change personality, how difficult it is to change people's core beliefs about themselves and their world. Because of that, I don't know how far we're going to get with a revolution carried out by today's blacks. I really believe that the children have to be raised because most of us suffer from the cancer of European society. Most black people went to public school, most black people are raised on white Jesus or an Arab Muhammad. Most of us are more European than we are African. A house divided cannot stand. That doesn't just speak to the physical house of the black community, but the mental house. How can you fight your enemy when you are partly your enemy?
And I do agree with that. As a me personally, I come into my house and issues, and it seems radical to my parents or just to the community of people that I may speak with. Like gentrification, as a example. I spoke with a comrade, and he was saying, well, doesn't that help the community? You know, doesn't that give a good image to the community? Aren't you helping it?
Yeah.
So I do understand.
They love white folks.
Yeah.
The reason black people oppose any type of black analysis is because they operate with European consciousness. So when you're talking to a black person, you're just talking to a white person. Psychologically, we're white. Psychologically. So that's why black people resist. They resist that African nationalism. They resist any independent initiative or endeavor by black people to change their reality. That they resist it because psychologically and cognitively, they're operating as white people. So when you deal with our people, you have to deal with them from their from the frame of reference of their psychological consciousness. You're talking to white people. You see, you have to try to get them to see thinking like white people. But most black people who operate in European consciousness will never free themselves from that bondage.
And on a psychological level, we have to start thinking aspects of who we are, who we represent, who we have our ties to. And how would your school educate the children for starting out? I know you're saying on the national level and speaking on the national level, but what are the other ways of taking in the resources and using it for ourselves? How would you go about that process of educating our children so we can use the resources and use them on the national level to combat getting into the political system? Or do we have to create our own political system, create our own national governance amongst our people?
Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy seeks to be a revolutionary institution that focuses on Pan-African nationalism and international economics. Our focus is in studying the political economic reality of the planet, training our young people on how to dissect it, invade it, conquer it, and bring it back to their people. So economically, we will teach our children real estate, not just local or global. Economically, investment, not just local or global. Because it is a Pan-African institution, we have a global approach to our learning. Most African center schools are only committed to understanding the American reality. The Pan-African institution will commit to understand. Our children will be taught business planning. They will be taught how money works. Because we got to understand something. His Excellency, the Honorable Marcus Garvey said this. We're not socialists or Marxists at all, but you're going to need a solid economic foundation to rescue African people, because economics deals with the resources. Without economics, you cannot provide your people with the things that they need. We do not have an economic power, which means black power is hypocritical without black dollars. You must have black dollars in order to have black power. You cannot have black power on white dollars. You see, which is quite contradictory because many black organizations by non-black sources. How you gonna have black power? Black power can't grow from a white dollar. Black power can only grow from a black dollar. But the problem is, as a people, we don't have access to it. So if we want to build schools, hospitals, manufacturing plants, if we want to build our own airlines and gas stations, we need to be able to access wealth. Not small business owners, large business owners. It's not going to be because why would you economically empower people who you're trying to keep inside of it? Which means we will have to become our own economic stimulus package, which means that we are not serious. So every black person is willing to cough up their disposable income for the best interest of it. We're not there yet. The average black person does not like talking about money, and they definitely don't like talking about their money. Do you understand? But that's where you're going to have to get. You're going to have to get so serious where your price of admission into this meeting is $100. You don't even come to this. I don't need your opinion or none of that unless you will put $100 in a plate. When you get there, then we know the series. Because right now, people just come in the meetings to get their intellectual masturbation session on, and then they go back home. The price of admission has to be money. We serious. If you want your thing to be heard, you're going to pay for it. Us who have donated our money, how to spend it, but you're not making those donations.
And then we'll go on to creating a national black funding program.
Yes, a national. Well, what you need is you need national black. You need a national black wealth distribution protocol and program, which is based upon banks, credit unions, and savings and loan institutions. Black people have to be able to access wealth, but we cannot allow this economic system to be created by black bourgeoisie. You must keep the gatekeepers out of this, or they will spoil it and use it to their own best interest. The black bourgeoisie is, and that is to create himself and herself as a king, a pharaoh above all the other black people. They want you to serve them as much as they serve white folks. The black bourgeoisie is not interested in any type of equality in the black community. Equality is a sin, not only for white supremacy, but for the black bourgeoisie as well. They want a privileged, hierarchical black community where status and power is based on education and acceptance by white people. Keep the bourgeoisie out of it. They're no good for the struggle. Dr. Carter G. Woodson told us that in Miseducation of the Negro when he articulated that the college-educated black is seldom of any race, is seldom of any use to his race.
So right now, is it say? Well, I want to say, we're kind of looking at it in the perspective of we have to reach the children and teach these principles because the ones that we have now and men are too far gone, too far lost. And speaking on the education system, how they're using the college graduate as their pawns, even within the education system. Like you said, diagnosing them with ADHD, reading disorders, and we have black psychologists that are going along with these
For the money.
These things for the money. So how is it that you see that your school will be different schools that are educating these black people? Do you see them in the same as
the premise of the school is totally different. There is no school that educates our children from a Pan-African nationalist perspective who focuses on international revolution. None of them do. They are all integration schools. All the Africans in the school are mostly integration. Our school is not integration, it is nationalism based. It will also be independent. It's not a charter school. Okay, and they will strictly adhere to principles of African racial pride. And not only that, we will give our children political and military science. They will be taught white supremacy. They will be taught white supremacy. They will know what it is. They will be able to dissect it and explain it. No African Center school does that. We will teach our children business and the science of business and business planning. African Center schools do not do that. So the question really isn't how are we different. The question really is what is the same. Because in no way resemble what you see in most African Center schools, which are still teaching the European curriculum, with the dashiki, the drums, and the shape of it. That is not what we're going to be doing. In addition, my school seeks to be a residential academy. We want it to be overnight. Now, we may not be able to start that way at first, but ultimately we can conduct that way. We want the school to be an overnight academy because I don't believe education stops at 3 o'clock. I believe at 3 o'clock, a child should now receive an industrial education, planting, farming, zoology, auto body, carpentry, plumbing. You understand?
Right.
So we want to, the daytime is for the intellectual, the evening is for the practical and the industrial.
Some people would argue that they do teach a national African perspective.
They don't teach a Garvey accuracy. There's no school in this country that has a Garvey accuracy. As a Garvey, I can teach none of it.
Right.
Everyone is tolerant of things. Let me take that back. The Baba Zulu in Washington, D.C. is the Garvey school. There's a few exceptions, but most of them do not teach from a Garvey accuracy.
And do you plan on reaching out to those schools who are
Once
learning?
I am established, I will reach out to schools that I consider to be sincere about what they do. Baba Zulu and Ujima Shule down in Washington, D.C., the oldest independent school in the country. I will definitely be reaching out to him. I will definitely be reaching out to the African Community School in San Antonio, Texas. The second oldest continuously running independent school. It is a plethora. I will probably reach out to all of them in some way, shape, or form to see how we can better work together, but not until my program is solidified. There can be no unity until we first have proper development. So I'm first focusing on what I need to do, and then after that, then we can form a united front that we international school. But as a guardian, there's certain things I'm not going to tolerate. Homosexuality will not be tolerated. Multiculturalism will not be tolerated. Hair, blue eyes, permed hair in our children will not be tolerated, which most Africans will be tolerated. So we're going to be very strict when we talk about Pan-African nationalism, which is why I say what I'm about to do, don't see it.
Do you feel that that would scare some of the parents?
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
It's supposed to, so they don't waste their time with me, so I don't waste my time with them. I only know the parents are very, very serious. Because I would hate for a child to begin my school, fall in love with it, and have to leave in conflicts with their parents, Eurocentric or Arab-centric religious views. It's supposed to scare them. Every time I step on speech, my speech is designed to scare you. Because I don't want anybody coming to me saying, Dr. Umar, we would like to organize with you, collaborate with you, when you really don't know what I stand for. So I intentionally bring the fire so you know he's not somebody I want to be around. For white folks, we don't do that. I'm down with the LBGT, we don't do that. I'm multicultural, we don't do that. You understand? So it's important for me to weed out the sincere and the serious from the superficial by being unapologetically African.
But would that be leaving out a lot of African Americans who need that proper education as far as creating a national system? I feel like it may leave some people out.
It's going to leave a lot of people out, and it's supposed to, because everybody doesn't want to change. Everybody's not going along with it. You study any revolution in history, not just the African freedom movement. You can look at Mao Zedong, you can look at Vietnam, you can look at the Russian Revolution, you can look at the French Revolution. They never tried to bring the entire citizenry with them. Most black people are loyal to the white people, and they will kill you for trying to take them away from the slavery. So I'm not trying to bring everybody along for this journey. Only those who contribute. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said the same thing. He talked about building a new community of African expatriates in Africa. He said, I don't want everybody going Africa. I'm not trying to save all black people. I'm trying to save the black people who want to be saved.
So are you looking to expand these schools to Africa? I have a brother that I've recently been speaking with over social media. He said he has a school in Africa. He spoke with you at one point in time. You may not remember. And it was about teaming up with people also in Africa. I know you have Mugabe, who has a movement going right now for his country. Plans as far as going abroad.
Well, for those who have followed my work in the development of the school project, know that putting a school in Africa is part of the agenda. It might not be the first school. Most of my donations came from African people here in the States, but there's a degree of commitment and loyalty I have to them and to them for donating so much of that money. So I would like to see the first school here, because I know a lot of our parents are not going to be comfortable with their children being educated in Africa because of the mystified and miseducation that they perceive about Africa itself. So the school may not be there, but ultimately, as I said earlier, we're going to do the school district. It's going to have to be an FD school district. The schools are going to have to be everywhere where we have children at. One school is not going to cut it. They're going to make an indentation, but it cannot be a solution. We ultimately have to have them everywhere. But again, then I will look through. I'm not interested in collaborating on my school with nobody. And the reason for that is my vision is my vision. The people who have donated to the school, Dr. Umar, to implement my vision and not a watered down version that's based on compromise with socialists, integrationists, or people of other political persuasions. Because there's very few unapologetically African educators out there, I cannot compromise my mission. So once the school is open, then we can collaborate. I'm not interested in collaboration on the creation of the school.
And people will have questions about the school in general, as far as and the staffing of the school. How are you going to go about staffing the school and your plans regarding that?
I'm going to answer both of those. Let me first say this. No one gets the entire strategy from a veteran. No one divulges their entire business plan. I'm definitely not going to do that. So I deliberately hold certain things close to me strategically because there's no one's business except the parents of the children that are going to go there. As far as the staffing, they're going to have to be interviewed. And I'm going to select based on those who I believe have competency, but also commitment to the unapologetically African platform to educate our children. So that won't be a secret. You got to get interviewed, you got to pass, you will be investigated. To infiltrate my school because it will spread like a cancer. The children themselves will be selected by a raffle. Okay, it's public raffle. Everybody can see it. I cannot give any group of African children privilege vis-a-vis any other group. Poor black boys need the education as much as black boys from so-called middle-class families. Black children in Africa needed as much as black children in Jamaica. Black children in Greenville, South Carolina needed as much as those in Toronto, Canada. So it will be an international school, so the children will be able to come. So those things, which have been explained before, they will be transparent. There's nothing about that that can't be told.
How would you go about, I think you speak about what you do about
that won't be an issue. Yeah. I've been a principal before. See, one thing that separates me from most of the African school heads, I've been a principal at a real school before. You understand? So there's experience and expertise that I have that many of them do not have. They've never been principals at school. You're talking to a certified principal here. But as far as discipline, that will not really be an issue. Discipline problems grow out of poor school culture. When the school culture is positive and progressive and the children have a voice in what's done and it feels like home and community, those problems disappear. Discipline won't be an issue. Will we have a discipline code? Of course we will. Because we're going to love the school so much that we don't need anything that's a problem.
And like you were saying, you would hate for a young child to go into your school and then have to leave. So with leaving your school, if that were to happen, going back into the public school system?
I don't know. It would depend on that child. It would depend on that family's background. It would depend on that parent's reason for taking them out. I can't control that, and I couldn't speculate because that would depend. Maybe some children have to leave the school because parents are moving to another country. Maybe some children leave the school for other reasons. I don't know. I can't speculate. You know, it's just my hope that when they do start, they can stay, but that's beyond my control. So I would speculate.
With your curriculum maybe different than the public school, or to leave, would they be held back? Or
the students in my school will be advanced. They'll be able to go anywhere, probably get put up a little bit.
Also, as far as the donation regarding schools, some people would say it's why do you need so much money to fund the school? And you can go in a little bit about the location that you have currently, the current plans and projections of it.
Okay. Again, I don't get everything.
Right.
But what I am willing to say is this. The St. Paul's College is the first choice for location for the FBMG Academy, which is in Lawrenceville, Virginia. They have a $2 million price tag. So in terms of why we need to raise so much money, that's common sense.
Right.
When you're trying to buy a college that costs $2 million, you need $2 million. As I said, my school is a residential academy. It is not a makeshift school. It is not a room in my house. It is not a room at the community center. It is not in the basement of a public library. It is an institutional funding. If people want to start small, they can start small. You have homeschool operations all across the country. You have other independent African schools who do a terrific job all across the country. If you want to start small, you have enough schools out there where you can go and start small. I'm not starting small. My ancestors, my mission, my expertise, my education requires for a major shift in educational paradigm, not just another day in the week.
And you were saying that your teachers are catered around carrying away from people who aren't on the same thinking path as you. And that goes into people's belief systems. Go about screening the children or
children don't have to be screened. Children have to be screened. Children, there are no requirements to come into my school except to be African. Children don't have to be screened. Children are conditioned by their society, by their parents, by their neighborhood, by their peers. Our job is to recondition them. It would be a grave act of hypocrisy and betrayal of everything I stand for to deny a Black child admission into FD&G. Now, of course, if there's children with certain types of issues, for example, children with pedophiliac issues won't be allowed to come to the school, obviously, because we can't put other children at harm. You know, children with a history of attempted murder, you know, serious types of pathologic behaviors, they probably would be excluded. But I'm also interested, and I will be the first African school to do this in the world. As a school psychologist, as a doctor of clinical psychology, I plan to have a program for autistic children. I plan to have a program for blind African children, a program for deaf African children, a program for seriously mentally ill children. And in that vein, I will be the first and only independent African school in the world that actually has an African program for children with severe disabilities.
And mental disabilities is going into the issue of health as well. Are there any holistic healers that you are looking to come into to your school?
I have a whole cadre there.
Yeah.
I got a whole cadre there. I mean, most of us only think of the big names, but I have people who have just as much expertise as the big names, who won't charge me as much to come and assist. So I have a whole cadre, whole cadre of economic experts. My plan is well thought out. It is well staffed. We receive, I'll tell you right now. I was going to tell you how many resume applications we have received. Here we go. We received over 1,200 resumes for the school, and that's from people all over the country. I don't think we've ever had an African school in this country see that type of interest from people wanting to. We've already made history. The school's not even here yet, but when the school comes, we will not only make history, but make a difference.
So as far as not just in the schools that you're looking to build, for the people who may not want to go to your school directly, is there open counseling, or is there are you open to counsel them and making sure they are taken care of in the public schools as well?
I do that now. Yeah. There is no educator in America right now who does as much for children and parents who go to public, private, parochial, or charter school as Dr. Umar Johnson. I have a free Black parent teleconference that I host every Tuesday morning. I actually did it yesterday from a hotel here in Greenville. It was 2 hours long. I answer all the questions that our parents have and teachers about education and mental health. I do it for free, 3 years now. And as I said, there's no educator who does more for our children without being paid.
And what are the ages that you're looking to start with? What is the age range?
Ultimately, it will be a K-12 institution, and then we want to turn it into a college. because we haven't had a black college created since the Reconstruction period. Where are the modern black colleges? We talk about historically black colleges, but where are the modern black colleges? We need modern day colleges to address the modern day issues of black people. So we go from preschool to doctoral degree in the final analysis. In the immediate future, the grades that we begin with will dictate the amount of funding that we operate with. So if I find a school that I want based on the price, if we're not successful with St. Paul's, I will then look feasibly at the size of that school to dictate how many students it can hold. The school size determines everything. And based on the population that that school can hold, that will determine the grades that we can operate with. So if you got a school that can only do 300, I might be limited to 4th and 5th grade. If you got a school that can do 600, I can probably do 2nd through 5th. And if they got 1,000, 1st through 8th. So it's going to depend on the size of the school.
So outside of just your school, the overall perspective people have about the African American experience. Like you said, you have the bourgeoisie who would downplay the racism that we are getting. Can you speak about within the media? Right down the road, you have Atlanta, who has just been categorized as the AIDS capital of the East Coast. What would you say about those things that are being done within the media with it being like a chess game where we have to catch up?
Well, first of all, black people need to understand something. As soon as enslavement ended, this country began a massive, deliberate program of black population control, removal, and extermination. That program has continued all the way up to the present day. Homosexuality movement was birthed. From this program, AIDS was birthed. From this program, Ebola was birthed. From this program, many of the cancers were birthed. From this program, Planned Parenthood and the abortion movement was birthed. They're not just trying to control black people, they're trying to get rid of black people. It's a coincidence that Atlanta is now considered by the Center for Disease Creation. Of course, it's called the Center for Disease Control. I call it the Center for Disease Creation. That the AIDS capital of America, that city, disease control has its headquarters. That is beyond coincidence. The history of the AIDS movement, you will see that it intersects with the history of homosexuality. It is literally targeted for tested homosexual AIDS virus. That's how AIDS became more prevalent amongst homosexuals in the population. With black homosexuals, I believe that they have never stopped deliberately contaminating with the AIDS virus. And when you look at the mechanism of transmission, homosexual relations, sodomy, and sexual activity of male homosexuals. In an act of sodomy, a man's semen is secreted into another man's rectum. In doing that, the rectum is a direct route to one's bloodstream. Doctors often give baby shots in their rectum when they're young because the rectum goes right to the bloodstream. So nobody should be surprised by homosexuals have a higher AIDS rate because look at the medium of transmission. A heterosexual male having sex with a heterosexual sex with a woman with AIDS, it would be almost impossible for him to get the AIDS through heterosexual sex because it requires bloodstream contact. Vaginal fluid, okay, the vaginal fluid isn't contacting the man's bloodstream, it's contacting the flesh of his penis. If that man is bisexual and he has heterosexual contact with that woman, his semen goes into her vagina, having contact with her bloodstream. You understand? So women can get AIDS quickly from gay men, AIDS quickly from other gay men, which is why the Center for Disease Control predicted there was an article come out today that half, and I didn't know it was this bad. I did not know it was this bad. But I read today that half of the gay black men in America to be infected, and I say scheduled on purpose to show the hand of the government, they are scheduled to be affected with AIDS in their lifetime. I didn't know that. I did not know half the black men in this country will die from AIDS. I did not know that. The Center for Disease Control just put that out. I read it today. a conspiracy. It's a serious epidemic. That's why when I am against homosexuality, because I hate homosexuals, I don't hate any black person. I've done therapy with homosexuals. I've offered support to homosexuals. I still do. Gay black men, gay black women, they come to me as a voice that they can talk to. The highest suicide rates in the country. I would never beat up on my brother, but I agree to disagree with the lifestyle. Because not only does homosexuality prevent you African life from being born, produce a child neither can choose women, but homosexuality can also eliminate life that is already here. Half the black men will die from AIDS. How can we not have an issue with homosexuality? AIDS from other means. That's true. But the highest means through which you contract AIDS is through gay sex. There is no denying that. That's coming direct from the government. But there's a problem. The problem is you got the LGBT rules. It's in full swing. Barack Obama has done more to push homosexuality equality than he has done to push black equality. Because on the one hand, they say, I want to support the LGBT. But on the other hand, this lifestyle is causing death rates for black men, which are already high, to climb through the roof. Look at this now. Society in the world. Now it's about to get worse because of AIDS. You already had gun violence. You already have police brutality. You already had mass incarceration. Add to that the impact of the AIDS epidemic within the black male homosexuality. If you're trying to save black men, I don't see how you support the LGBT.
And so you're saying, even with Barack Obama, the agenda still continues.
Oh, yes. Obama took this level up. Obama took the homosexuality movement to another level. Remember, he's appointed more than 250 homosexuals in federal office and pushed at least 3 separate laws. 3. He got, gay people got 3 laws under Obama. How many laws do black people get under Obama? Not a single one. So, crystal clear, Obama's minority agenda with gay people.
So how do you feel as the next upcoming election?
Hang it up.
We don't have that many choices.
First of all, you don't choose presidents anyway.
Right.
But that's irrelevant. If you did, it would be over for you. It's over for you anyway. It's over for us. Obama accountable for his negligence of black people. By doing that, you set a precedent. Because he's the first president in American history out of 44 challenged to do anything for them. He's the first of 44. That's 200 something years. But do you know what that means? Whether it's Bernie, Hillary, or Trump, you cannot force them to do anything for you because you didn't force Obama to do it. If a black president don't have to serve white people, if a black president doesn't have to serve black people, definitely doesn't have to serve black people.
So, and your school, as far as already over for us, how do you feel, or what do you believe is the solution to get the problem with the current campaign and the current presidential elections? How do we survive in them?
Your problem is not going to be fixed at all through the president. They don't solve problems. They protect agendas. Right. You use politics to protect your agenda, not to solve your problem. By economics. Money controls politics. Politics does not control money. We have to go back to the money and use our money to control candidates and to finance candidates. That's what we have to do. Until you get out of the Democratic Party, get out of the Republican Party, stop identifying as Democrats and Republicans, which are 2 European paradigms. African paradigm. So the African political union, you don't need a party, you need power. A black political union, and you exercise your political influence that way. But as long as we're married to the Democrats and the Republicans, which should be married to white supremacy, we'll never get anything through the electoral process. We're not going to vote for them. Excuse me. If Democrats know that you will vote for them, just because they're Democrats, they don't have to pay you any mind. And if Republicans know that you will not vote for them because they are Republicans, likewise, they don't have to pay you any mind.
So it's only way to control the politics is to control the money.
Yes.
Basically. So it's almost like saying there's no solution as far as right now. the solution will come within the next 10 to 15
Well,
years when the children of today have mastered the economics of today.
Yes. We have to try to solve this problem as we have them now with the adults that we have. We don't wait. Every minute is precious. However, in my opinion, you're not likely to see a resolution to the madness until a generation has been raised with a revolutionary concept to push forward the African movement.
Okay, so closing out, there's this big conscious community that's going on right now. You have these different platforms, and it seems as if they're bringing in the same idolizations that they had coming out of their previous mentality. What do you have to say about that and maybe the solution behind?
Okay, I would say that the problem in the conscious community is the fact that everyone wants to be smart when he can. Information has become the goal as opposed to the means. Information is supposed to help you prepare for struggle. Learning is not struggle. But now we got a situation where being scholarly means we have arrived. Just like in church, being baptized means taking your shahada means you have arrived. That is not arrival. That is preparation. Now you have to go out into the struggle and live the Christian life. You have to go out into the world and live the Islamic faith. You don't learn about African culture and learn about white supremacy and claim to have arrived. And the learning is only a strategy and a preparation for the work to be done. You now have to go out and make it manifest. Books are not going to save Black people. Dollars will. Information is not going to rescue our community. Organization will. Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture said it best. If you organize a little, you get a little done. If you organize some, you get some done. But if you don't organize at all, you don't get anything done. Messiah Garvey said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. The problem with the conscious community is 99% of all conscious personalities, and I'm not going to say scholars, because most of them are not scholars, okay? They're just spokespersons or lecturers. 99.9% of them have no organization whatsoever. A few of them, most of them are purely, quote unquote, poor righteous teachers, and that is not going to cut it. We need organizers, not educators alone. I also want to say to the community, coming out tomorrow, Dr. Umar Johnson is here, Greenville, South Carolina, my first time here. Malcolm X's Earth Day tomorrow. We will be honoring him. And I will be speaking at the West End Community Development Center tomorrow, Malcolm X Day, 2016. The address is 404 Ardrey Street, 404 Ardrey Street. Okay, and that is tomorrow from 6 until 9 o'clock. The doors open up at 5. 6 until 9. The doors open up at 5. If you need more information, you can call 256-4036, 864-4036, or you can email Dr. Umar Greenville at gmail.com. Tickets can be gotten at Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com, and we spell Africa with a K. Again, Prince of Pan-Africanism. I also want your listeners to know that we have the Black Boy and Girl College Tour coming up June 30th to July 14th. We have the 3rd annual Dr. Umar African Tour to Senegal and South Africa, July 24th to August the 9th. We also have the National Independent Black Parent Association Organizing Conference. First ever national movement by Black parents to fight against racism in the schools. That will be in Baltimore, Maryland. Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass City. 27th through Friday, May the 27th through Sunday, May the 29th. Friday, May the 27th through Sunday, May the 29th. If you want to register for that, and we do hope some South Carolinians come on out, we need chapters of the Parent Association here. You can register for that at Africanism.eventbrite.com. You can register for the college tour there as well. If you need information on the Africa trip, you can email me, Dr. Umar Johnson at yahoo.com, or you can text my phone at area code 215-989-9858. Again, 215-899-9858. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Black America's #1 most requested scholar, and I approve this message.